you very much. The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Massachusetts, 4th District, for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Chair. To start with, responding to my colleague from Colorado with just the continued misinformed attack on variable energy, in particular offshore wind, for the 15,000th time. Nobody is talking about exclusively relying on variable energy and battery storage. In fact, I think Massachusetts should lift its moratorium on nuclear production and build more nuclear power plants for higher baseload power. What we are asking for is for the ability for investors and states to make their own decisions about the appropriate portfolio of energy sources. In Massachusetts, we have a tremendous amount of offshore wind, and it made a lot of sense. We could have powered 200,000 homes with our offshore wind, which actually it blows so hard off the coast of Massachusetts that it matches the baseload reliability of other sources of energy like natural gas. And we could have traded with Hydro-Quebec for off-peak hours. It made all the sense in the world, but the administration's arbitrary and capricious practices have made it harder to invest in that energy source and other energy sources where investors have to put capital at risk for the long term. So I don't want the lectures anymore from the GOP on all of the above energy strategy when they are silent about this administration canceling long-term investments in the types of energy generation that we need, because it's going to make it harder for us to do nuclear, which we all agree about. So now on to nuclear. I want to focus particularly on ALARA. Dr. Wagner, last year, you and your colleagues at Idaho National Labs published a report, which I'd like to enter into the record, proposing that we should maintain an annual occupational whole body dose limit of 5,000 millirems per year and eliminate all, quote, as low as reasonably achievable requirements and subsequent limits below this threshold. I think this is one of the critical issues for this whole industry. I think we got to get this right. Advance 1.0. Left this one on the table. I think we got to get it right in Advance 2.0. You noted that this change could potentially reduce radiation protection costs by millions and correct misconceptions about the risks associated with nuclear tech. Dr. Wagner, give us like the plain English reason for this, please, in the next minute.
Yeah, so I'll try to be quick on this. There's a lot that we could talk about. But the reality is that we now have decades of experience and data related to the health effects of radiation, and we now know a lot more than we knew 4 or 5 decades ago. And so the whole theory behind this as low as reasonably achievable posture, it was a prudent posture when you don't have as much information and data as we have today. We now do. And so driving, when the industry is driving and the regulatory bodies are driving dose rates to zero, far below what we experience from natural background radiation, there's no health benefits to be had from that. And so that's fundamentally what's at issue.
And just really like make that really visceral for us. So the 5,000 millirems that you're arguing for, like what kind of exposure is that for a typical person? Is that like an airline flight? Is that, comes from fruit? I know fruit has radioactive exposure.
Yes, so let me first say 5,000 millirems is for occupational workers, which are tracked very closely in terms of what their exposures are. We cannot find any statistically significant negative health effects in the data from low dose rate radiation exposure of twice that. And so 5,000 is the current limit, by the way. And so what we're saying is, since we don't see any health effects there, why are we driving to dose rates well below there?
Right.
So that's where the ALARA concept comes in.
And your argument is that when you drive to ALARA below that 5,000, the marginal cost versus there's no marginal benefit, you're saying, because there's no health benefit whatsoever.
Correct.
And the marginal cost is exorbitant. Is that fair to say?
It increases significantly as you drive down towards zero, absolutely.
Right. For no public health gain. Ms. Korsnick, if we got this right in an Advance 2.0, what would that do for the nuclear innovation?
I think the real key is where are you applying ALARA? So if you've already built a plant and you're talking about using ALARA for ensuring that you're operating and ensuring
for new construction,
those things, yeah, I would say there's minimal benefit. But for new construction, if you apply ALARA in the design phase, it goes like this. I could build that wall 2 feet thick. No, but I'd have more shielding if it was 3 feet. Well, I'd have more shielding if it was 4 feet. Well, I'd have more shielding if it was 5 feet. So you can see quickly how you can over-design things. As he said, you're chasing a number that's sort of not real. And the more concrete and steel that you put in a plant, the higher the cost. So it's really a very basic. ALARA can work in certain phases, like an operational phase. ALARA in the design phase is challenging, and we think it should be removed.
if we built airplanes with ALARA for radiation exposure, nothing would ever fly. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
I yield back.